Hello everyone. Today let's solve the longest regular bracket sequence, this one. So you can read the entire question. So this one, I'll just summarize the question for you so that we will understand correctly and as well as easily. So what we are asked to do here, the problem is asking us to find the longest valid substring of the parenthesis, this one. Longest valid parenthesis, valid substring of the parenthesis, this one. So for a given string consisting of bracket this one and this one, the goal is to determine what we have to determine, the length of the longest valid substring. First thing is length of the longest valid substring. This one I'll give LVS, nothing but the length of the longest valid substring. And also the second one is how many such substrings of that maximum length exist in the string. These two things we have to display. First thing is length of the valid parenthesis substring we have to find, this one. And also second one, how many such substrings of that maximum length exist in the string. How many substrings of that maximum length exist in the string. This is the second one. So these two things we have to find. So what will be the approach for this? First, as usual, we'll go step by step. Let me delete this one. Just give me a second. So first step, we'll go with the input handling, right? So initial step will be input handling as usual. So we'll understand this while we write the code. We'll see while we write the code. Second step, what we'll do? We'll add a leading zero. Nothing but instead of appending, we will prepend a zero to the string to handle the edge case easily. So second thing what we are doing here, we are prepending the 0 to the string to handle the edge case easily. We are prepending 0 here. Why we are prepending the 0 to the string? To handle the edge case easily, right? So the third step is we are making use of the dynamic programming array. So the approach we are going here is dynamic programming, right? So we'll be making use of the DP array. Nothing but we will maintain a DP array. So here, let me come here. So we will maintain the DP array where each DP of I. So here we are maintaining the DP array where each iterated value of the DP stores the length of the longest valid substring. This will store the longest valid substring. So the first one, what we have to find here, we'll get the solution through this one itself. So this is the third step, right? Fourth step, ending at the index I. So here, in the third step, what we are doing, we are maintain a DP array where each iterated value of the DP stores the length of the longest valid substring ending at the index I. So that one will be the third step as we have discussed this one. So fourth step, what we'll be doing, we'll be iterating through the string. So for that, we'll be making use of loop, right? For loop, we'll be making use of, we'll be iterating through the string. We traverse the string character. We are traversing the string character by character and update the DP array when encountering a valid closing parenthesis, nothing but this one. Encountering a valid closing parenthesis is nothing but this one, right? If you have read the question, we'll come to know that we are in the fourth step, we are traversing the string character by character and updating the DP array when encountering a valid closing parenthesis. So the next step will be, we have to track the maximum length as well. After finding the this one, the longest valid substring ending at the index I, we have to track the maximum length as well. That's what the question says, right? Both we have to display in the output. So while processing, what we do, we will track the longest valid substring found so far, and we will also count how many such substrings exist. How many such substrings exist. That's what we have to find in the second thing. While explaining the question, I said we have to find the length of the longest valid substring. Also, we have to count how many such substrings exist, right? So these two things we have to find. We will count how many such substrings exist here. This will be the fifth step. Finally, what we will do, we will be outputting the result. Also, we have to keep in mind one more thing, that the edge case, if there is no valid substring found, then we will directly give the output 0, 1. So here you can see here output print the length of the longest substring, that is regular bracket sequence, and the number of such substring. If there are no such substrings, then we write only the line containing 0, 1. They have will be giving directly 0, 1. That's what we'll be doing. So let's start with the code. We will understand this one better, right? So as usual, I'll start with process or standard input ratio. So the second line will be standard input encoding. So we'll set this one to UTF-8, right? Sorry, did I miss anything here? So sorry, I have to give this one within the braces, right? So what we are doing here, the first line is we are keeping the input stream active just to read the data from the user or the test case. Nothing but we have to read the data from the user or the test case, right? So for that purpose, we are keeping the input stream active, the first line. Second line, we are just setting the input stream encoding to UTF-8. So this is just for handling the text. Sorry. Next, what we'll do, we'll initialize the empty string to store input, and we will track the current line of the input being processed. If you have followed the previous questions, you'll be knowing. This is similar. Input handling will be mostly similar for all the problems. So I'll just give, just call this one input string equals, let me set this one to the empty string. Next, what I'll do, I'll just give parent line, I'll initialize this one to 0. What we have done, first one here, we have initialized an empty string to store the input. We have to store the input, right? For that one, we are initializing the empty string. Second one, we are tracking the current line of input that is being processed. Next, we will make use of the event listener to collect the input when available. How can we do that? I'll just give process dot on. So here I'll just make use of the data. I'll just give standard input. So I'll just give input string equals std, this one. So next, I'll just copy the same thing and make the necessary changes. So let me give, instead of data, I'll just give end here. Let me delete this. No need of this one here in Kenya. This will be input string. So here what we will be, what we are doing, we'll be making use of the event listener triggered when all the input is received. First, this is the event listener to collect the input when available. This one is the event listener triggered when all the input is received, right? So here, let me make use of the underscore. Input string, what we'll be doing here, let me make use of the trim to remove all the white spaces. First thing, split to read the input line by line. So I'll just give /n. Also, let me make use of map. We make use of the bracket string. Again, we'll make use of the trim to remove the white spaces or the space. String dot trim. This is fine. So next, we have to just call the main function over here. So we have not written the main function yet. We'll be writing that one in the future. So I'll just leave the space over here. And after writing the main function, I'll call the main function over here. So this is one thing. Next, what we'll do, we'll write the function to read each line of the input during the program execution. So we have to read the each line of the input, right, to get the desired output. So for that one, we have to write the function. So I'll just give function readLine. Here, I'm just returning what I'm returning, input string of current line. We'll just increment this one. So what we are doing here, we'll return the current line and move to the next line. That's what we are doing. First, we'll read the first line, then we'll move to the next line, then we'll move to the next line until the input, this one, input exists in the particular line. We'll be reading all the lines, right? That's what we'll be doing here. Finally, we'll come to the main function. So we'll be writing the core logic always within the main function, right? So I'll just give function main. Here, this is one thing. So here, first step, what we'll do, we will, while explaining the approach, I have said we'll prepend the 0 to the input string for the easier boundary checks, right? So I'll just give let a equals 0 within the strings. Also, I'll just give less read line. It's one thing. Next step, I'll initialize the, we have to initialize the DP array with zeros, right? So initially we are, what we are doing, we are initializing the DP array with 0, where iterated value of the DP will store the length of the longest valid parenthesis ending at index I. So this is the first thing that we are, out of two things, the first thing, longest valid parenthesis, and how many such substrings has to exist. These two things we have to find out. First thing, here in this step, we are finding the longest valid parenthesis ending at the index I. That's what we are doing. So I'll just give let dp equals new array, length of the A plus 1. Let me make use of the fill C. This is fine. Next, C is the index of the last character of the original input string. We are not counting the prepended 0, except that one, we are initializing the C. That is nothing but it is the index of the last character of the input string. Let me give let C equals length of the A minus 1, the last character, right? So, the last character of the original input string. This will be. This one will be 0. We will just make use of the max and it will store the length of the longest valid substring that is found. Initialize the max to 0. Nothing but we are initializing max to 0. Next step, if we remember, we need to traverse the string starting from index 1. For traversing the string starting from the index 1, we'll make use of the for loop. And why we are not making use of the index 0 and we are traversing the string from the index 1? Because index 0 is our prepended 0. We have already prepended 0 in the index 0, right? So that is why we'll be traversing the string starting from the index 1. I'll just give for right, I equals 1, I less than or equal to C, plus. This is one thing. And one more thing, if A of I equals this one ending brace, what we'll do here, if we encounter a closing parenthesis, nothing but if we find a closing parenthesis, then what we will do, next step, we will check if there is a matching opening parenthesis as well. If we have found a closing parenthesis, next step we will check if there is a matching opening parenthesis as well. How can we check? I'll just take one more if condition. I'll just give I not equal to 0. What we will do, if the character before the longest valid substring ending at I minus 1, nothing but the previous index, is the opening braces, means previous one has to be the closing braces. So if the character before the longest valid substring ending at I minus 1 is opening braces, then we will extend the valid substring. So this is simple. Again, I'll just make use of the if condition. If this is I minus dp of I minus 1 minus 1. This one, if it is equal to the opening braces, as I have said, if it is equal to the opening braces, what we will do? We will update the iterated value of the dp to include the length of the current valid pair plus previous valid substrings. So again, I am telling, we are updating the iterated value of the dp to include the length of the current valid pair as well as previous valid substrings. So this will be, we have to update the iterated value of the dp, right? I'll just give 2 plus dp of I minus 1 plus dp of I minus dp of I minus 1 minus 2. So this is one thing. Finally, sorry, this has to be here, right? So we will update the max to the maximum length that we have found so far. So how can we find the maximum? We can just make use of the math.max, right? So I'll just give max equals math.max of max as well as the iterated value of the dp. That is where we have stored, right? So this will be dp of I max. This has to be ma_x I have taken. So this one has to be ma_x and also dp of I. This is where next step what we are doing. If max is still 0, if we have not found anything, if the max is still 0, it means we have not found any valid substring. So we are directly printing 0, 1. While explaining the approach, I have said if there were no valid substrings, we will directly print 0, 1. For that one, I'll just make use of the if condition. This is easy. If max, if it is equal to 0, what we will do? We'll directly print 0, 1, right? I'll just make use of the console log to print. I'll just give 0, 1. So this is fine. Next, else what we will do? We will show the count of how many substrings of length max exist. So this is the second thing, right? First we are finding the longest, this one. Just give me a second. So yeah, first we are finding longest common, valid substring. Then how many such substring exist? That the second one, right? That we have to find. So here else I'll just write. We have to count how many substrings of the length max exist, right? So I'll just take here, initialize this one to 0, and I'll just make use of the for loop. For let I equals 0, I less than length of the dp increment. Sorry, what happened here? And this has to be for loop. So else I didn't give this one. Sorry. Answer equals 0. Initialize. Next step, I'll just go with for let equals 0 less than length of the dp I plus plus. So for each index I where iterated value of the dp equals max, then we will increment the count. Nothing but if iterated value of the dp is equal to the max, then we are just incrementing the count. Nothing but answer, ANS we have took here, right? So in simple terms, if iterated value of the dp, if it is equal to max, then we will increment the count, ANS this one. This is simple. So next what we will do? So here I'll come. Finally, we will output the length of the longest valid substring and count of substrings. These two things we have to find, and we are finally printing the length of the longest valid substring and count of the such substrings. To print the output, I'll be making use of the console log, and where we have to first the longest valid substring we have stored in the max, and the count of such such substrings we have stored in the ANS, right? So we have to print both. For that one, I'll just give max ANS, this one. So here, yeah, this is it. Let's check with the input. I'll just come here. Let me copy this one. We have to get the output 6 and 2, right? So let me just copy here. Let me run this one. So we are getting program did not output anything. Did I miss something? Here, I forgot to call the main function, right? I forget this most of the times. Let me hit the run again. So here, line number 34, reference error, math is not defined. So here, this is small m I have given, line number 34. This has to be capital M, right? This is fine. Again, I'll hit the for let type 0, sp.length. This has to be dp.length. Where is this? Line number 40. So yeah, this one I'll just change this one to dp. Max is not defined. Double X I have made use of, right? Line number 41. Just give me a second. Let me correct all the typos. So yeah, let me hit the run again. So yeah, now we are getting the output 6 and 2. This is correct, right? This is working correctly. So I'll just come again here. Let me copy this one. We have to get the output 0, 1. So there are no valid substrings here. So we have to print 0, 1 directly. So I'll just come here. Let me run this one again. We are getting the 0, 1. So this is working correctly. Just give me a second. So I'll just come here. Let me click on submit code. So this is problem C, right? I'll just paste it over here. Let me hit the submit. So let's wait for some time. So yeah, this you can see, this is accepted. So this code works absolutely correct. And so yeah, this is it. Thanks for watching, guys.